Hello again, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of Tailgate Talk, our preview of high school football, and we are talking Class B for Randy Whitehouse. I'm Callie Oaks, and we're going to talk with Randy Whitehouse about the big matchup this week, which appears to be Spruce Mountain and Mountain Valley in the Class B ranks. Now, last year, I think a lot of people on the Spruce Mountain side were looking forward to this game. It wasn't competitive at all. But they've had some reason for optimism these first 2 weeks. Their defenses look terrific, and Mountain Valley is riding, at least in our memory, we'd have to go back a long way to find the last 3-game losing streak for Mountain Valley, and that's what the Falcons are on right now.
Yeah, it's an unusual position for Mountain Valley to be in. I think they took some encouraging things last week from their loss to Marshwood. Defense played better. Offense was a little more cohesive as well. Should be even more cohesive this week. I guess they're expecting several players back from suspension, so that should help. They've been in a tough position. They've been playing kids out of position. They've been forced to play younger kids that they weren't really expecting to give a lot of playing time to, especially this early in the season. That could benefit them in the long run, certainly, but I'm sure glad to have more talent back. As far as Spruce Mountain, obviously encouraged coming off a shutout win over Falmouth. And again, another team that was looking for to mesh a little bit more offensively in that option attack showed some signs last week. The quarterback, Peter Terrio, had a pretty good game, 140 total yards on offense, passing and running, had a touchdown pass. And, of course, you have to talk about the defense whenever they throw a shutout like that. So I think, both teams just looking at this point in the season just to take steps forward and make a progression as we head towards the midpoint of the season.
And even in the game I saw Spruce play against Greeley, they lost 33-7, but they gave up fewer than 200 yards. All those Greeley yards were coming on short field off of Spruce turnovers. The defense played spectacularly that night. So it's another challenge for the Phoenix. They're going to face a team they lost to twice last year if you count the playoffs, so it'll be kind of a measuring stick for them. On the eastern side, the Pine Tree Conference, the two teams that seem to be linked in perpetuity, Levitt and Mount Blue. They're looking forward to that showdown in a few weeks, but they're both at home this Friday night. The Hornets will take on the Morse Shipbuilders. Morse was the last team to beat Levitt in the PTC 35 games ago in the 2008 playoffs. Is there any chance of that streak being in danger?
I don't think so. Morse coming off a pretty sound whooping at the hands of Gardner last week. And Levitt just, they just keep rolling along. Brian Bedard and Josh Vaughn's playing very well last week in their shutout of Belfast. Like you said, Morse was the last team to beat them in the 2008 semifinals, a game that I remember because I was there, as Chris Berman would say. And I'm sure the Levitt coaching staff remembers, but the players were just mere middle school kids back then, so they're not harboring any resentment then, but they certainly don't want to have that streak go by the boards at the hands of the Shipbuilders. As long as they take care of the quarterback, Kevin McKellar, and Devon Myers, who's kind of an all-purpose back from Morse, keep them out of the open field, keep them away from the big plays, they should be all set.
You said harboring, which is a good segue, because MDI coming from Baba take on Mount Blue. Long trip to Farmington. Last year was a long trip for Mount Blue, and Mount Blue struggled in the first half before they finally got around to stopping that straight T and got their offense clicking as well. What do you see happening this year?
Well, and they stopped it even better in the playoff game that they had the quarterfinal. They basically shut it down. And MDI is a physical football team, and Mount Blue, we talked this year about how they're a more physical football team, but they showed some of that last year against MDI in the playoffs. So, like you said, it's a long bus ride for MDI. It's like a 3-hour bus ride or so. So that's coming off a long bus ride like that, you're going up against a physical football team. I don't care how much you try to win the trenches. That takes a little bit out of you. So, obviously Mount Blue with Whitney. Jordan Whitney having a nice game last week. Not just showing off the arm last week, but the legs and the punt return.
Yeah, the Jordan Hersom role this year for the Cougars.
Well, I wonder why that could be. You wouldn't be trying to win them any harder. Heck no. Why not use your best athletes on the field? But Chad Luker also had a touchdown run, and he had a big game last year against MDI, so I'm sure a lot of the focal point for MDI will be on stopping him this week.
Another game to talk about quickly on the western side. Great New Gloucester and Wells, a battle of 1-1 teams. They're kind of at different places. Wells, coming off that loss to Westbrook, still wants to get back into that Class B championship conversation again. Great New Gloucester knows it has some winnable games down the road and just trying to build some confidence. Anything else to say about that game?
Granted, Gloucester a little bit of a setback last week. Obviously, losing to Freiburg Academy Freiburg scored 26 unanswered points on them, so they certainly took a step back. Look to get things on the rebound this time against Wells. It's a tough opponent to do that against. Even with a 1-1 record, that's still a pretty strong program at Wells.
That's Randy Whitehouse. I'm Callie Oakes. This has been Tailgate Talk. See you on the sidelines this weekend.